Hello, this is Shannon with Dogwood Crochet, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet these beautiful coasters. So to start out, we'll need some medium worsted weight yarn. I'm using Lily Sugar and Cream cotton yarn, and this color is Jute. And then I'm also using a 4mm crochet hook. So we're going to start by making a magic circle. So I'm going to wrap the yarn around my index finger 3 times. And then I'm going to place my hook under all 3 strands of yarn. I'm going to pull that last strand underneath the other 2. So that's a magic circle. Now we're going to chain 2. Now we're going to place 12 double crochet into the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So we're going to place 12. So I'll meet you back when I've placed 12 into the circle. Okay, so I just finished placing 12 double crochet into the circle. So the first chain 2 that we did does not count as a stitch, and we have 12 double crochet. So now I'm going to close the circle. I like to make sure that mine is closed pretty tight so that there's not a hole in the middle there. Just pull on that end until it's closed. And then we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the round. So let's just count together. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 stitches in the first round. We don't count the loop that's on our hook. So we're going to slip stitch into this first stitch. Now we're going to chain 2. So this is round 2 now. So we're going to work into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into. So we're going to place 2 double crochet into the back loop only of this first stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to place my hook not under the entire loop. So if I place it in the whole stitch, you'd see these 2 strands of yarn here on my hook. But I'm going to pull that out. We're just going into the back loop only. So I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to place it in between those 2 strands of yarn. And I'll just have 1 strand of yarn on my hook. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So it's just a normal double crochet, but we're working into that back loop only instead of the entire stitch. So I'm going to do 1 more into that stitch. And then we're just going to continue doing 2 double crochet into the back loop only of each stitch of the round. So here is the entire stitch right here with these 2 strands. I'm going to work into the back loop only. So because we're working into the back loop only, that's how we get these really pretty lines going around the circle of the coaster, because that's the front loop that's kind of sticking out. So I'm just going to continue doing 2 double crochet into the back loop only of each stitch of the round. And by the end of round 2, you should have 24 stitches. So I'm just going to keep working on this, and I will come back once I have finished round 2. Okay, so I'm almost at the end of round 2. I have one more stitch left to work into. So I'm just going to do those 2 double crochet. And so now we have 24 stitches in this round. So this right here is our slip stitch from round 1. So you want to make sure don't work into that slip stitch. We're just going to skip over that, and we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch of round 2. And if it helps you to use a stitch marker here, then by all means do that and mark that first stitch of the round. So now we have 24 stitches at the end of round 2. We're going to chain 2 and begin round 3. So now we're going to work 1 double crochet into the back loop only for the first stitch. And then we're going to work an increase, which means we're going to work 2 double crochet into the back loop only for the second stitch. So we're going to work 1, 2. So our pattern for the third round will be to work 1 double crochet and then to work 2 double crochet, or an increase. So the first stitch will just work 1, and the second stitch will work 2, or an increase. So this is now our third stitch. We're going to work 1 double crochet into the back loop only. Now for our next one, we're going to work 2 double crochet into the back loop only for that same stitch. So that's 1 and 2. So we're just going to continue this pattern all the way around, alternating between working 1 and between working 2 stitches into the back loops of each stitch from round 2. So here's 1, and then we're going to do an increase. So we're just going to continue this all the way around for round 3, and by the end of round 3 you should have 36 stitches. So I will come back once I have finished round 3. Okay, so I just finished round 3 and I have 36 stitches. So now I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the round. Then I'm going to chain 1. So now for round 4, we're going to work that zigzag border. So I just chained 1, and then I'm going to slip stitch into that first stitch, or the same stitch that we just went into. So I'm going to do 1 slip stitch. And then I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Then I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch into the next stitch. So this zigzag stitch just consists of a chain 1 and a slip stitch into the next stitch. And we just keep working that all the way around until the end of the row. So by the end of round 4, if you're not counting the chain spaces, you should still have 36 stitches or slip stitches. So we're not increasing in round 4. We're just doing 1 slip stitch and 1 chain 1 for each stitch around. So I'm just going to continue working this until I get to the end of round 4. Okay, I'm coming up on my last stitch here. I have 1 stitch left in the round. So I'm going to chain 1, slip stitch into that one, and then I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch into the first chain 1 space that we did for round 4. Now I'm going to fasten off. Just pull this tight. And then I'm going to weave in these ends off camera. Okay, I just finished weaving in my ends. Now you can see we have the completed coaster. In this case, I'm using cotton yarn, so it's pretty stiff and easy to manipulate a bit. So if yours looks a little bit wonky, don't worry, just stretch the stitches out a little bit and then you should be able to get that flat coaster pretty easily. So one other thing to note, if you are planning on using these coasters for any hot materials like coffee mugs or tea kettles or anything like that, make sure that you're using heat resistant yarn for this project. So cotton and wool work really well, but just be sure to kind of do your research on that if you do plan to use this for hot items. But if you follow this pattern and use the yarn that I used, you'll be just fine. So that's it. That's my tutorial on how to make these beautiful crochet coasters. I hope you enjoyed it. You can also get the full written pattern on my Etsy shop, and I'll link that in the description box. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more crochet tutorials. Thank you!